My name is Dan. I'm the head of the wireless program here at Bushnell.
My name is Aaron, and I work on the customer service team with the wireless trail cameras.
So today what we're going over is once you get your wireless camera, how to get it set up correctly so that you don't have any issues down the road and so that you have a better understanding of how you want to be using this camera. So when you're setting up the camera, we recommend going to the Wireless Trophy Cam website. And in terms of web browsers, Chrome is preferred. We found that has the least issues versus the other ones out there right now. You can add a camera via the phone application. However, for billing purposes, you are required to use the computer. So we recommend off the bat, start with the computer, and then once you have your account created, you can utilize the phone application for manipulation. First step that you're going to want before you even take the camera out of the box is you're going to want to go on to the Wireless Trophy Cam website and create an account. What you'll notice is if you look at the top of the box, there's a serial number printed on there. You can use that serial number to get the camera activated on your account without ever having to touch anything. So once you have an account created, you'll see here we have the option to add a camera. You can give the camera a name, and then you're going to want to plug in that serial number off of the top. Now you'll see once you have the camera added to your account, you have this big orange button to activate a free plan. If you click that, what it's going to do is it's going to ask you for your billing information. We do this on purpose so that after your free plan expires, you don't have to worry about logging back in and re-enrolling in a data plan. So I'm going to plug in this info here. And then at the bottom, enter your card number. Once you review the order, you'll see down here at the bottom right a little green notification that says the camera has been activated with the free plan. And up top, your order is processing. Click to refresh. So once the free plan is activated, if you scroll down, you'll notice that you're pre-selected for the 65 megabyte plan at $14.99 a month. If you want to change this, you can. We recommend starting with that $14.99 plan, and after the first month or so, if you're using more or less, you can adjust it accordingly. Now what we can do is we can actually put the components into the camera. Now we recommend using the Energizer lithium batteries because they work best in these cameras. We designed them around these lithium batteries, and the reason being is lithium batteries discharge at a more even rate than alkalines, and they're much less temperature sensitive.
So we always try to reiterate to customers when we get the chance to make sure and finish the steps that we just walked through on activating the free plan before even putting the batteries in the camera. The camera has the ability to kick in and start taking pictures and therefore utilizing the data that's temporarily stored on that SIM card, which could make it difficult to get up and running that first time.
So once we have the batteries installed, you'll see on the screen we have the default set of mode being photo. Our signal is 0, that's okay, but no SD. We recommend using the SanDisk brand SD cards and up to 32 gigabytes in storage size. When you put the card in, you'll see that the camera briefly said reading SD and then went to capture 0. Now what I always recommend is when you first install a new card, you always want to format it to the camera. So by going into the setup menu and scrolling over to the option to erase the SD, this will clear the card if there's any other files on it and create a new partition that the camera can communicate with so that it can actually save the photos as it's taking them. Another thing we recommend is once you get the card installed and you get it formatted, that you go in and you attempt sending a test picture. To do that, you go down to the network setup option, and scroll over till the top line of text reads Send Test Image. Press OK, and then confirm sending. Depending on your location, if you're indoors or outdoors, it can take up to 30 to 45 seconds. More often than not, it comes through within 20. Now what we can do, if we back out, we can see that our capture count is now 1. That's the test picture. And if we go to our account on the computer, if we refresh the page, we'll see that we now have an image here. Once you have the camera added to your account and you've gotten a successful test picture, this is where you can start adjusting the settings as you like. If you click on the gear icon and it brings up the camera settings, you can change things like the name of the camera, the captures per trigger, which is whenever something moves in front of it, how many pictures do you want it to take, the image format, which is a standard or a 16:9 widescreen, the LED flash intensity, movie resolution if you choose for it to record videos, the night vision shutter speed, the passive infrared delay interval, which we'll touch on later, the PIR mode, the camera mode, whether it be image, movie, or hybrid, image resolution, movie length, communication frequency, and the PIR motion sensitivity. Down at the bottom you'll see the latitude and longitude. The camera updates its GPS position every 24 hours during a nightly check-in process. When you first set up the camera, it's recommended to give it 48 hours before trusting that GPS location.
The PIR is a passive infrared sensor that's in the camera. All of our cameras that we have actually have that same passive infrared sensor. That is going to basically be the sensor that senses the motion.
Typically what we recommend for the passive infrared sensor is to run it on automatic. What the camera has inside is it has its own built-in thermometer, and so it will dictate how much of a heat signature is needed to take a picture or what's just a bush blowing in front of it. In some situations though, that you'll want to run it on either low, medium, or high, and what we found is low is best for when the ambient air temperature is 40 degrees or colder, medium 40 to 70 degrees, and high hotter than 70 degrees consistently. Now when you add the camera, we'll notice here that the PIR mode defaults to off. What this means is when something moves in front of the camera, it's not going to trigger right now. So we can either have it turned on. So what on means is if something moves in front of it, it will take a picture no matter what time of day it is. Daytime is for if it's you only want it to take pictures when it's light out. Nighttime, inversely, if it's only dark outside. And then the timer mode is kind of like setting a thermostat. So what you can do, if you're using this for an application other than hunting, say perhaps a job site or property surveillance, is you can turn it on if you know that the camera, nobody will be present between 5 p.m. and 7 a.m. And the way you set it is in blocks. So you'll notice that we have 4 blocks pre-programmed in. You can adjust these to whatever you'd like. However, you need to be aware that one block cannot overlap the second or the third or the fourth. If I wanted to run this on a property where I only wanted to be able to trigger if something moved in front of it between 5 p.m. and 7 a.m., I would start with block 1 being midnight and I would turn it on, meaning I do want it to be able to take pictures then. I would change block 2 to 7 and I would leave this gray, meaning off. What that means is from midnight to 7 a.m. it will take pictures. At 7 a.m. it will turn the PIR off. 12 o'clock noon, we can continue to leave that off. And then for block 4, where we want to turn it back on, I'll change that to 5 p.m. Now all of our Bushnell cameras run on military time or a 24-hour format. So if you're not familiar with that, add 12 afternoon. So from Monday through Friday, I know people will be there between 7 a.m. and 5 p.m. So I'm going to keep that set how it were. If nobody was supposed to be there on the weekend, I could turn all of these blocks on. And what we've done is we've given Saturday and Sunday their own individual blocks. One thing you also might have noticed is once we change some settings, we got a pop-up down here. If you change the setting that you didn't want to save, you can simply click the reset option, or if you intended to do all of this, click Save Settings, and you'll receive a notification as such. So within the camera settings, you'll see a feature towards the bottom called Tracking Mode. Tracking mode should only be utilized if the camera itself has grown legs or if somebody has taken it. The camera will turn that on its own because it has a built-in accelerometer. What will happen though, if you turn the tracking mode on errantly, is the camera will take a picture every 5 minutes and update its GPS position. If you didn't intend to do this, this can be a quick way to drain your batteries because of the amount of power being consumed updating its GPS positioning and taking those images. Lithium batteries are the recommended batteries for this camera for a couple of reasons. The primary reason is that the discharge curve of a lithium battery is flat for the majority of its lifespan until it tapers off at the very end. An alkaline battery will taper off steadily over time. With our cameras and the power consumption that they use, it's better to have a consistent draw for the entirety of the battery life cycle versus it tapering off. Another key feature of lithium batteries is they're much less temperature sensitive than an alkaline. We've found that for alkaline batteries, they start misbehaving in our cameras at approximately 35 degrees Fahrenheit. With the lithiums, we can get away with down to about minus 10 degrees Fahrenheit.
So there's 3 big issues that we run into when cameras stop sending pictures. Clearly the camera needs to have a data plan, as we went over, in order to access the server and utilize sending those pictures that are being stored on the SD card. That would usually be number 1. Number 2 falls on the battery voltage. As we've touched before with the importance of alkaline batteries and lithium battery differences, if your battery level has dipped down below, say if your battery level has dipped down below 40%, the consistency of those pictures coming through can drop. So another one of the reasons that the camera stops sending pictures would be signal. If you've set a camera up in an area where you know you have good signal strength and it's not checking in, it's not sending those pictures through, that's when we need to be reaching out to try to diagnose what could be going on with the camera. If the camera has lost signal, it will not communicate, will not send those pictures through.
In front of the camera, you have lights here, and these are relative signal indicators. Green being good, red being bad. The more lights you have, the stronger the cellular connection. When you're putting them up in the woods, what we recommend is just this motion will be enough to trigger the lights to give you a good idea. You can also check that within the setup menu under the network settings labeled RSSI, Relative Signal Strength Indication. It's worth noting too that when you're running these in the spring and summer months, forest canopy can affect the cellular reception, as can water or precipitation. So if you're running your camera in an area that has a large storm blow through, it's not out of the question that that camera could go down for 12 to 24 hours while the ground and the trees are all wet. As the trees soak up the water and they go through the leaves, that kind of creates a net around the camera similar to a cell phone in an elevator. Typically, once everything dries out again, the camera will be reporting just fine. So if you ever want to view the amount of data that your camera is currently consumed for this existing billing cycle, you can come up to the top, choose your name. This will be your email address until you actually populate your billing information. And from the drop down, you'll see an option that says data plan usage. If you select that, what you'll see is your plan's start date and end date, and then a bar that will fill up over time as the data is consumed. Supplemental data, this is safety data, which you can purchase from the subscriptions page in case you're worried that you might overconsume your data plan for that month. So if I scroll down here and I'm looking on my subscription page, I see that I'm enrolled in a 65 megabyte plan. If I'm worried that I might go over that 65 megabytes for my existing month, I can come over here to this separate tab and I can purchase supplemental data. When you select the option, you have 10 megabytes for $9.99, 20 megabytes for $19.98, or 30 for $29.97. if you purchase supplemental data, this never expires on your account. Where a recurring monthly plan, at the end of the month, any unused data will go away and you'll start afresh with that next plan. The supplemental data stays until you use it. If when you're looking at your data plan consumption on the website or on your phone application, and you see that this bar is completely filled in and it's in the red, what we recommend would be contacting Bushnell customer service so that we can take a look at your account on the back end to make sure everything is working correctly. If there is something errant with your account on the consumption side, we can efficiently get that reset for you and get the camera back up and running.
So one thing that has been noticed or brought to our attention is when the camera is firing the night pictures, the LEDs do not appear to be going off and therefore giving the customer a black image. We do recommend the Energizer Ultimate Lithium battery. Battery voltage dropping too low could result in the LEDs not firing at night. However, if you're running the recommended batteries and we know that our voltage is at a sufficient level, we recommend adjusting the settings in the camera's night vision on a low LED with a high night vision shutter speed.
So customers who have used our previous generation cameras might think that to be backwards from what the proper settings should be. With the upgraded components in the Impulse camera, that low LED flash intensity and high night vision shutter speed really needs to be set first to have the baseline, and you can adjust accordingly. The LED flash intensity controls how many of the LED bulbs fire when it takes an image at night, low being 1/3, medium 2/3, high all of the LEDs. And then the night vision shutter speed controls how quickly that camera shutter opens and closes. A high shutter speed is going to give you a crisper image that might appear slightly darker, where the low shutter speed would give you a brighter photo, but if the animals were moving quickly in the frame, they might appear blurry.
One of the new features on the Impulse camera is the remote capture. This feature allows you to tell the camera when you want it to take a picture any time of the day, whether your PIR mode is turned on, off, or even set in the timer mode.
It's worth noting, however, when you select to remote capture an image or command a photo, there is a delay installed in that. We did that on purpose so that we can comply with the 50 state fair chase laws. Realistic expectations from a remote capture to when you receive it is approximately 2 minutes, give or take.
Field scan is another option on the Impulse camera, which is not a new option to the Bushnell cameras, but it is a new option in the cellular family as far as sending those images that are captured. You're able to set the camera into a time-lapse mode where you can tell it when you want it to take pictures and how long delay between those pictures. When utilizing the field scan option, keep in mind that these pictures are captured regardless of motion in front of the camera. They will send those pictures through to the account and it will utilize your data when doing so. In addition to that, these are extra captures that are just taking up extra battery life. If the field scan is set throughout the nighttime, you're firing extra LEDs all night long with no motion, which could result in the camera dying early or running out of the data plan as well.
So on the Impulse camera, we've unlocked the feature that the camera can actually record and send you videos remotely. To enable that feature, we would come into the camera settings and change from image to movie. Before going further, you want to take a look and see how long of a video do you want to record and what resolution do you want it to be recorded at. 10 seconds is typically sufficient for what most people are using, but you can adjust it all the way up to 60 seconds. It's worth noting, however, that if you have your camera set to record 60-second videos, only the first 20 seconds will be transmitted cellularly, and you'd have to recover the SD card to view the full copy. So if you have your camera set to record videos, it's really easy to differentiate images from videos on the website. If you click on the Images tab at the top, you'll see a play button up here in the top left. By selecting that, this shows you the first frame of the video that was taken, but you'll also see an option to request the video. When you request the video, it sends a command prompt to the camera to upload that full video file, which once it transmits, you'll have an up arrow button indicating that it's ready for viewing. On the phone application, it's slightly different. When you're wanting to view a video on the phone application, if you tap on the image, it'll show you the first frame of the video, but in the top file name, you'll see that it's denoted with a V, as in Victor. Photos end in a P, as in Papa. Once the video has been transmitted to the cellular network, you'll see this up arrow button above the image. If you click on it, you'll notice now that the screen loads to play the video. If it doesn't load immediately, refresh your page. Now you'll see the opportunity to hit the play button. On the smartphone, if you refresh your app, you'll see an orange border around the video. By loading that and tapping on it, it will load the video for you to play. If it doesn't load immediately, simply back out, refresh, reopen it, and hit play.
With the battery life on the Impulse camera, keep in mind this is a cellular device strapped to a tree, outdoors, sometimes year-round. Basically, sometimes we'll compare this to vehicles. I can make it a week with a tank of gas, typically. If I'm driving twice as fast or twice as much, that time is going to be narrowed down.
Comparing this to the previous generation Bushnell wireless camera we made, the actual transmission time on one of the older models was approximately 45 seconds to a minute and a half from when the image was taken to when it was actually received at the network. With the new Impulse camera, this can take and send images within a second. So if you set the camera to a really short PIR delay, or if you want to run it fast, it'll go fast. We typically recommend starting with it somewhere in the 15 to 30 second PIR delay range, and then making adjustments as necessary. If you want to run the camera fast, it will go fast. It's worth noting too, though, that the faster it goes, the faster your battery consumption goes as well.
So thanks for watching, guys. If you do have any questions that we didn't cover, feel free to reach out to us Monday through Friday, 8 to 4:30 Central Time, 1-800-423-3537. I hope this helps you, especially in the field and on the weekends when you can't get us. But feel free, we're always here if you do need help.